Welcome back, guys. Automotive Inc. here. So a while back I had somebody ask about buying a used camper versus buying a new one, some advantages, disadvantages, whatnot. There's a handful of things that I would check if you're going to go pre-owned. Now, just because you're going pre-owned doesn't mean it's bad. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's bad. I'll show you a new one here in just a second, and it's already fallen apart. So our camper is old. It's a 1997, but it was used like 3 times, but the quality of the build was substantially better. But let's go over some really important things you need to check when you look pre-owned. Obviously the roof. Guys, you want to get up here and check and see if it has a lap seal here. A lot of fifth wheel stuff have a bridge piece of shrouding here, and then the vinyl. You want to make sure there's no holes in this. Make sure all the seals are good. The older you get, make sure these plastics are in good shape because they're going to be brittle. They've been taking the beating of the sun. But if any of them are damaged, more than likely you're going to have one heck of a time finding replacement pieces. Again, maintenance to your roof, like up there when we look at the front, you can see that little lap seal up there. You want to check and make sure. Now, people should have been resealing it over the years, but you don't want to see any damage to this. Damage to the roof would be a no-no. I'd pass on it because you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars, and this is not a job that a normal everyday person is even going to want to endeavor on. Now, if you're looking pre-owned at a dealer, make sure you just have them turn everything on. All systems go. All right, make sure they plug it in. You check everything. Now, a light could be just a bulb. Wiggle it, check it, make sure it's all good to make sure electrical stuff works. If you're at a homeowner or a private owner, make sure you have them check everything. All right, next thing to check, if it has a slide, make sure functionality is there, and make sure too that this is solid. The mechanisms work and there's no splitting of the fiberglass or the aluminum. One of the biggest things we'll find is they made poor drainage here. You can see all the water and the grime and stuff that pools down, and that sometimes likes to collect here. You have one of these, that is not a job you want to endeavor on. Next thing too, have them jack up the wheels and check the suspension. Look at the brakes, see if you hear any grinding in there. Although that job is something that most people can do, if you had to replace even the drums and all the brake pads, that's not something that most people have the tools to do. But pick it up. If you hear anything grinding or flopping around in there, that's a big no-no. All of these could be bartering points for you, but for me, it'd just be a no and move on from it. Tires are fairly expensive, but those, even though they may look good, make sure you check the date codes. The date codes are right down here. You'll see DOT and then date codes in a circle. This was the 4th week of 2020 that these tires were made, so those will always be on there. Next thing, you can expect to see wear and tear on any type of decals or fading, but you don't want to see this fiberglass composite stuff coming apart. That's going to be a big no-no. Any type of damage to it, usually from people hitting something, so you really want to be cognizant of that. Replacing the stickers, they sell kits out there, but man, that is one heck of a job to try and take these off with a grinding wheel or something like that, or a remover, and I just would pass on it. The better condition they are, the better. Less fading, obviously the better. Again, you have an awning here, make sure that the functionality is there. We can see it's actually fading and tearing away from itself. Awnings are not a necessity, but if it has it, I want it to work. Otherwise, that's a good bartering point because that's about a $500 repair if you do it yourself. All right, guys, once inside, this thing smells like a cat box. All right, so even though somebody might be able to clean it up real well, if you have somebody with allergies, make sure you ask them, did you have animals in here and what kind? Some people are allergic to both cats and dogs. Some people even bring like ferrets and whatnot, so you want to check on that and ask them, because you'll never be able to get all the pet dander out of anything, period. So the worst thing you could do is be trapped in something like this that gets really hot in the summer and have your kiddo or you be clogged up or messed up because you have allergies. So always ask about pets. All right, the next thing I want to do, I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to check and see if there's any soft spots in the ceilings, see if there's any staining from water, see if we have any type of wallpaper peeling, because water is the destroyer of these things. These things bounce down the road and get beat up. But if you come in here and you see wallpaper peeling, it could have been because it peeled naturally. But if you see like little dimples, maybe it looks like I don't know, like cottage cheese underneath there, that's usually an indication the water's got behind it and mold spores are growing. Next thing, check window seals. These are going to be very hard if it's more than a few years old to find new seals. So if the seals are brittle and bad, make sure the functionality, you can find the new hardware usually, but this stuff is really, really hard to find. So check the functionality of all windows and check, make sure all the gaskets are good. Also, when it comes to windows, if you see hazing in there, that's usually because the gasket seal in between the panes has popped and it's allowing air to mix with the chemicals that are in there to keep those windows clear, and it'll be really hard to replace or get new ones. Again, if you're at a dealer, make them plug everything in. They usually will have some type of septic tank setup where they can put water in the septic system and drop it. You want to make sure functionality of all of the stuff is working, okay? Because that is not something, it's all usually sealed in the underbelly, and you do not want to mess with that. And then I would also make sure that while they're plugging it in, if they can, have them plug in the ACs. Make sure the ACs work. Again, that's an expensive component for you to deal with. Now, if the trailer is just so cheap and you find it good to just snag it and go, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also nothing wrong with getting the most out of your hard-earned money, and that's by checking everything. Checking the appliances, checking the flooring, and make sure the flooring's not bubbling. Again, if it's bubbling, it could be because of imperfections, but it very well could be because of water intrusion. And usually water intrusion will come with staining and stuff like that, but not always. So again, going used is not a bad thing. Okay, but you want to make sure you check all of those things. A lot of people forget about the suspensions of these trailers. And these trailers are not built all that well. I don't care if you're buying a $150,000 one or a $20,000 one. From day one, they're falling apart before they even get there. Now, the older ones, they're built more robust. They're even heavier. They're a little bit older looking inside, all oak and all that stuff. But the build quality is a lot better. So again, I'm not against buying a pre-owned one at all, especially if you can find one that hasn't been smoked in, no pets, no water intrusion, good quality plastics and window seals, and everything like that. But let's go check out a brand spanking new one and let's see how it's already handling. All right, so as we've talked before, new is a lot of times nice, but sometimes it's not as nice, right? Case in point, I'm in a brand new Coleman. Now, again, some of this is people, because people are people. They go in and they let their kids, their dogs jump all over these, and the companies will allow them to do that, to look in them. But unfortunately, it's just not the right thing to do. But nonetheless, here's a brand new $32,000 pull behind, and I can already find more things wrong with it than I did in that pre-owned one. Check this out. So don't mind the stains here, but you got trim falling apart, coming apart. Now this is all stuff they're going to touch up, but I want you to keep in mind this has never been used, never been anything. It's been set up, driven across to the United States to get to its little selling dealer, and here we are. We got trim pulling apart. You didn't even see that in that old one, right? You come over here, the fridge misaligned, doesn't even shut right. You got your backsplash falling off already. Again, they'll fix all this, but I just want you to imagine you're going to take this out on your first trip, and it's not going to be a smooth road either. Windows don't seal right down there. You can kind of see the light underneath them. All right, let's go over here. So how about this door? Obviously custom. All plastic trim going into not wood. So you can see that they're going to have to fix this for the next owner. Real nice there. You have warping plastic already. You know, misaligned cabinet pieces, stuff like that. You got a drawer back here that's already split and won't stay in its little cubby. Yeah, you literally have 30 problems already with your brand new unit. So again, don't get so caught up on having to have new. All right, at the end of the day, new can be good. I've been to some dealers where the new stuff, I would say for me, the last new one we had was a 15/16, and that was kind of the cutoff. After that, I've just seen the quality and material again. We went through the COVID BS, so we lost some quality there, whether it's manufacturing pieces, assembly workers. I'm not for sure what happened there. Maybe it's a combination of both, but nonetheless, new doesn't mean better. This is stuff that you are not going to even be messing with, and it's already falling apart. We go in the old one, yeah, it smelled like a cat box, right? That one would be for me. But we didn't see as much trim pieces falling apart, but we did see fading. So there's just a lot of things to look into when you're thinking about it. And again, if you're looking at a pre-owned one, you can find some really great older ones. I'd say anything pre-2015 is actually built really well. And as long as even if it was stored outside, the decals will hold up better back then than they do now. And if you guys have seen my video where we did the Battle in the Rockies, my little 1997 Travel Supreme, it was one of the bee's knees type trailers back then, and the thing is phenomenal. I mean, it's dated. Don't get me wrong. The insides look like Oak Express threw up in there, but other than that, carpet's brand new, better quality carpet, better quality everything else. But at the beginning of this video, you at least check out those handful of things that we talked about. Then I think that you'll be in a good position to be like, okay, I can deal with faded decals. I know the brakes work. I know the suspension's good. I know the roof's good. I know the plastics on the roof are good. I know the interior components work and everything like that. So I hope this answers the question that I had a while back. Guys, and I'm not gonna bang on any manufacturers of new ones, of which ones I might think is a little bit better. Although we did have a Keystone Cougar 2015/16, and it was a fantastic trailer. It didn't look bad after several years. It was a really, really great unit. Didn't have hardly any issues with it whatsoever. So that's probably the only brand I can really speak for. But I've heard that the newer ones are even failing in a little bit of quality. But nonetheless, guys, smash that button down there in the corner so you can enjoy more content. We will see you on the next one.